Hey y'all, today I'm back. I'm gonna be showing y'all how to do knotless braids. I had a client, she got medium knotless braids, so I'm about to show y'all how to do it. First, I started off with parting. I like to go straight down the middle and put 4 sections in the head. It's just easier for me to make sure that all your parts are lined up and all the parts are straight and
Also,
even,
y'all,
and
I
that you
am new
get
at recording.
the
I was
ample
trying to
amount
get the
of braids
camera
on
right.
each
I really
side.
don't know how
So
people be
just
doing
split
it,
it
but I
into
had
four
to
equal
find
parts
my way. So
like
you're
I'm
gonna see
doing
me
now,
using the
and I'm gonna show you
camera
how
a
to
lot, but
section
I'm
it
trying
off.
to
This
keep
is the
this video
easiest
as
way
clear
for
as
me to do
possible
it,
so
and
you
it
can
does cut
see.
off a lot
So
of
just bear
time
with
when
me
you
because I
section the
really
hair
am trying.
first
Like I said,
instead
I
of having to
recorded
section
3
each
videos
part
now, and
each
I
part
think this is like the
individually.
best time I did it, honestly. So I thought this would be a good first video. I'm gonna show all the other videos too, but I finally got it down to a science. I watched a few TikToks, y'all, and I taught myself something because honestly, y'all, like I be having so much content, I just don't know how to create it and edit it over. So like I said, I'm doing the 4 parts. I'm sectioning it over into the 4 parts right now, and after that we're gonna get to sectioning. I believe I did 5 rows in the front. I don't know, but I'll be counting with y'all in the momentarily. I can't really remember, but usually for medium I do 5 to 6 layers on each side, so rows on each side, and then I connect it through the back. So usually in the back it's probably maybe 2 or 3 more rows than the front. But yeah, so as y'all can see, that's what I'm doing. The key to having straight parts is the parting comb. If you have a good parting comb, that is the best. I will also show y'all a few tricks that I learned to make the parting comb to make the point sharper. So I'll show y'all videos of that as well. I really didn't show y'all my products and stuff I use. I'm looking at this video now and realizing that that's something I should do. So next time I do ahead, I will show y'all the products that I use and where I get my products from and my combs and stuff like that. But yes, the parting comb is the best thing to have. Like I get mine from my local beauty supply, but you can also order them off Amazon. Post a link to in the bottom of them, and they usually are very inexpensive, but they do work wonders. That is the trick to having clean parts, y'all. And always I start if my client want edges, she did want a lot of edges left out, so I always section the edges off first, just so I don't braid them. And I like to put gel on them because some people like the flat iron edges, but a lot of people don't. And I don't really prefer them, especially when my clients are getting braids and stuff like that, because that will tear up your edges a little bit. So no, I didn't really do that. But other than that, I'm going in and I'm parting. As y'all can see, I'm parting with my comb, and I usually start in the front. I start in the front and then I connect through the back. That just works better for me. So that's what I was doing here. So when I'm making my part, I do like to start from the ear up. I work my way from the point of the ear and I go to the middle of the head. And I always split it down in the middle first. That's how I section my four off, and that's how I feel like I get it the most even, to make sure the part is always centered in the middle. No matter what style I do, I always start in the middle. And then I work my way from the edges to the honestly, y'all, I always start from the front. I always section in the front first, and I section it off with rubber bands because it's just easier for me to keep my sections in that way. I don't tie the rubber bands too tight, and I also use a little bit of gel just to get my parts clean and straight to make it less work for me as when I start braiding. But sometimes I do have to clean up, like you'll see in the video. I will have to clean up the parts a little, but it's better than sitting there the whole time and just parting as you go. To me, I feel like this process took me about 30 minutes, maybe even less, give or take. And I feel like it's very helpful with time and non-time consuming. I also like to have my hair separated before my client gets there. Everything that takes the most work, I like to get that knocked out first so we can have a good experience, and I can get you out of there as quick as possible so you don't be sitting all day, because I know you don't want to sit all day. So I try to make sure it's convenient for both of us. And I like to go from the middle down to the ear. Sometimes I switch depending on how I feel, but as you can see now, I went back to the middle to part. I went back starting where the middle part set, and I put my first section there because I do like for my first row where the middle was at to be sectioned correctly. Like I want it to where it's sectioned at, I want it to be, I don't know the word I'm looking for, y'all, but I like to start in the middle. Long story short, that's just what I like to do. It's easier for me, and it just gives you the best parts. It gives you perfect parts, so you don't have too much hair left out right there in that middle section, and so it can just all be nice. And then as you can see, I go through the back and I start sectioning. Like I said, I'll start at the middle and work my way down. It's just easier for me to make sure that the parts are straight. I'll make the parts as straight as possible, but if I have to clean up, that's fine. I don't mind doing that as much. It's way less time consuming than parting the whole head, I feel like. And it makes sure my rows are connected all the way through. So when you pull them up in the ponytail, whether you put half up or half down, your parts are staggered. It also helps you get the correct brick layer parts, y'all. Like, this is something that I do every time for every single client. This process, like I said, takes me about 30 minutes, give or take, depending on the style, depending on how small the braids are. These were medium, so it took me about 30 minutes to do this. Straight parts is very important, y'all. So I do try to take my time on my parts. And like I said, I go through and fix it if it's not all the way correct. When I lift it up and I look at the part and it look like something is crooked, I do fix it on my way. I don't just continue on with the part. I do like to make sure the part is very precise. I feel like that makes the braid style. If the parts are not done right, you can have the prettiest braids ever and it just won't look right. To me, that's just how I feel. So take your time on them parts and make sure they're crispy and get you a good parting comb. That is step number one. Do y'all see how crispy that part is? And it wasn't even gel on there yet. I didn't even go clean that up. It's that comb, I'm telling you. And I'm seasoned at this, so I know how to get it a clean part. That's one thing I do know how to do. I am very much a perfectionist, so you can see me going back and forth with the comb, trying to make sure that the parts are correct and straight. It's just in me, I just cannot stand a crooked part, y'all. Like, I just cannot. So, like I say, I'll be very precise with my parts, and I go back. And when I get to the ear right there, I follow the path from the point of the ear all the way to the back, and that usually is where I guess the middle of the back of the head, if that makes sense, is that. And then after that, that's my 5 rows right there. And after this one, I believe I did 2 or 3 rows. That's what I said. Depending on the size of the head, you can put 2 rows back there or 3 rows back there. And just you'll map it out and you'll see. Whatever works for your client is the best way to do it. Every client is not the same. It will be different for different clients. I have some clients that need maybe 4. I have some clients that need 3. I need some clients that need 2. It just depends on the size of braids that I'm doing and how the parts lay after I get to the point of that ear. For her, she needed 2 additional rows in the back. So in the back, she has 7 rows total. So 7 rows on the back and 5 rows on each side in the front. Instead of just switching from the other side, I find it easier for me to go from the back and then connect the front on the other side. I just work around basically in a circle. That's literally what I'm doing here. Like I said, I use rubber band to keep my parts straight. And when I do it from this way, I start from the bottom and work my way up. Like, it's a process, y'all. But if you try this process, let me know what you think. If you ever try it, let me know how did it work for you, because this process works for me every single time. And don't mind my nails, y'all. Y'all, it be hard to get my nails done when I'm doing hair because they always get messed up, and I just feel like it's a waste of time. I did end up getting my nails done this same day, but I just prefer not to have my nails done. So. And it's okay if some of the parts are not exactly correct, because it'll be easier as you section it. It'll be easier for you to fix them now that you have the guidelines at least. Like I do know on one of her sides, I had to fix it when I got to the front. And it was just easier for me to it was easier for me to start at the middle, at the middle of the head, or go to the middle of the head and make that part just so I can know where to stop at. And then I connected it from that way. So I did have to go back and fix it, like I said. But other than that, it did turn out pretty okay. I did really good. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I always do good with my parts, but just based off of how much I have to fix them, I didn't have to fix much. I did have to fix a little bit, as you will see in this video. But like I said, this is the easiest way for me to do. As I'm working on the front, this is the part where it got a little trickier for me to record. I guess really not trickier, but I was tired of moving the camera. So eventually I'm going to find a way that works so I won't have to move it. I can just set it there the whole time and that'd be good. But I did zoom in and zoom out a lot, so you will see the difference in that. I do teach hair classes, but I feel like it'll be easier for me to do YouTube videos, do long explanation videos, because it's easier for me to talk on here and I can see what I'm doing more. Even though I can talk to people, but I just feel like it's easier for me to understand. It's easy for you to understand if I can actually see what I'm doing. Like I'm watching me work, it's easier for me to tell you the process that I did then. So now I got her all her rows in and we are about to start braiding. I start at the front sometimes, it just depends. For me, I like to start at the front just in case if I have too much hair left out. And I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say then, but if so say if I got one row in the front and there's only one braid can fit in that row, but I have hair that's enough to fit in a braid that goes toward the back, it's easier for me to section it off and push that hair to the back, put that braid there, and then braid that hair with the hair that I'm going to braid in the back. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, y'all, but y'all gonna see what I mean. I do it a lot. So it's just easier for me in the front to make sure that all your parts in the front is very much precise, so we don't have a lot of braids. We don't have braids that's smaller than the others. It just give me I'm able to get more precise parts when I start in the middle. And it just depends on how I'm feeling, because she was like, do you usually start in this way? And I'm like, I never started your hair in the front like this. I thought I always started in the front like this. So I guess it just depends on how I'm feeling, how I wake up feeling that day, and what style I'm doing. She was getting medium goddess braids, so let's get this process finished. As you can see, I do clean up the parts a little bit before I start braiding. I like to make sure the parts are as precise as possible. Also, I like to comb up and comb down just to make sure that you have no strays so the hair is not laying down, so you can have a literal box braid, knotless box braid, and that your part is completely straight without any hair bunched up under the braid. That makes the braid look messed up in my opinion. So I do like to make sure the hair is already combed all the way through so you have a very straight part. As I explained before, she is getting goddess braids, so I added curly hair without throughout. And I will show you how to do it more in detail as the video goes on, but I kind of got in the zone, so I just started braiding. And I don't like to really, I like to show the edge being braided a little bit, but for the most part, I like to teach on braiding when I get to the middle, so it's easier for me to position the camera and it's easier for you to see exactly what I'm doing, my hand position and stuff. But it's really not that hard. Braiding a knotless braid is very simple, and I will show you as this video continues. I will be cutting parts of this video out because honestly, this is a really long video. It took me about 4 hours and 30 minutes to braid her hair once the parts was put in. So total time, maybe about 5.5 hours with preparation and stuff like that. But I do like to braid all the way down. Some people, it's easier for them to braid down and then put the braid in and then braid down at the end. But I do prefer to braid down as I go. To me, it's just faster, and it'd be hard for me to stop. Once I get in that zone, it's hard for me to stop. But as you can see, I just parted the hair. I parted this for the second row, and instead of making that into two very small braids, I just put the extra hair that can go in a braid in the back. I pushed it towards the back, and I'm gonna get to that when I get to the back. And so that's what I meant by it's easier for me to start in the front so I can section the parts off correctly. And as the amount of pieces, I know a lot of people like, how many pieces do you know to put in there? Honestly, it's different for each client. Like some people have thick hair, some people have thin hair. You have to do what works for you and the size that you're doing. My mediums, they literally about medium parts, small braids. That's how my mediums go. And so she did have her hair was kind of thinner, so I believe I used about 6 pieces for each braid because I do like the hair to be completely covered so none of her hair is out and none of her hair is sticking through the braid and stuff like that. So I believe I used 6. I start adding hair immediately after I start braiding, so I fold 2 times. I go over 2 times, like, or 2 wefts, I guess it's called, before I add hair. And then after I add 2 of them, I braid for a second. I braid for about 4 seconds, and then I start adding another piece of hair depending on how long I wanted them. She did have hers waist length, so they were pretty long.
I have been doing diamond parts a lot lately, y'all. So I had started parting her hair for diamond parts, and then once I realized, I'm like, oh dang, she's not getting diamond parts. So let me go ahead and fix that. So I went back, and usually I try to start from the middle. I like to make my part in the middle first of the row, and then go from the sides because it's just easier, and it's just easier to make sure all your parts are the same size and that each one is going to equal miles of hair. But like I said, it varies. It varies on how I'm feeling and yeah, just really it varies on how I'm feeling. But that is an easy way to do it, to make sure that you start the foundation of that row in the middle. You part from the middle, and then you work your way to the corners. You work your way outwards on both sides, or left to right or right to left, whatever works for you. But yeah, so y'all, I'm parting. Like I said, this saves a lot of time. So you can keep that comb out your hand, and you could be braiding, get your client out of there.
So y'all, sometimes clients do their edges will be the thinnest part of their hair just because of all the tension. That's usually where the most tension happens. Like you pull your hair up into a ponytail or you get your hair braided to the back. Anything so there's a lot of tension there. So it's usually the thinnest. So when I do these, I like to make the first part of the braid that I'm using. I like to start with a thinner piece of hair just so it's not pulling and dragging on the client's hair. So it doesn't feel heavy on their edges and it doesn't gives it too much unnecessary attention that it needs. So I start with about three thin pieces all the way at the top. And that's just for the edges. I usually do that with the edges, but anything else I usually only use about two. That's something that works for me again. But if you would like to get us if you get us a try, just let me know how it worked for you. Other than that, I believe I used 5 to 6 pieces on each braid. It depends. 5 to 6 pieces, yes. That's just how I do it. And that's usually honestly that kind of works for everybody. It just depends. I usually try to keep the same amount of hair being added in. But if a client has thicker hair, I'll just make the pieces bigger. So I'll show y'all that too. I'll show y'all how I do that and how I navigate through that about the piece size or if I'm doing medium and they have thinner hair, I may make the pieces a little thicker or I make them a little thinner. Like it just depends on the type of hair that the client has. That is important. It's important to evaluate your client hair because you cannot work for the same. Everything doesn't work for the same people. And obviously, if they're new, I just say that the best advice that I can give you, just as if you do medium braids and you usually make hair for medium braids, size the hair in that. Like when you me, I like to prepare my hair the night before. So I put my hair on the rack. So when my client get here, I can just get the straight to parting and braiding so I don't have to keep stopping to separate hair. But I do like to make sure that and the hair is separated. So for my mediums, I have a certain size that I go by if my client never came before. She had came a few times, so I do know what her hair was like. So it was easier for me to separate her hair in the size that I needed it to be because I know what size she was getting. I know how I do it. So it is important. Like I said, evaluate your client hair. If you don't do a consultation, you can do a consultation to get that knocked out the way. But just in case people don't have the time to do a consultation, they just come get their hair did, then that's a good method for me. Just go with your regular size. And if you need to give or take more, you can give or take more. You can just add a piece of hair or you can take a piece of hair away. It just depends.
Like I said, y'all, I do like to start go from the front. So after I get off this front, I will be moving to the back, and that's probably where I'll be cutting a lot of the video because that's probably where it takes me the longest. At the front, I can maybe do it in about an hour. I can do the whole front in about an hour, even with braiding down and stuff like that. And the back is really what's most time consuming because there's more braids in the back. There's more stuff I have to do, more parting and all the other stuff. But yeah, so y'all, I got the parts in. I'm adding the curls. I don't know if you can see really what I'm doing, but I hope you can because I'm really trying to position the camera in the right way, y'all. So I'm sorry if I'm not. But I promise it'll get clearer, and I promise I'll be able to explain more of how I add the hair and even how I add the curly hair inside. And as you can see, like that part looks a little off, but it is going to be fixed. I realized once I got to the middle that it was in the center of her head, so I had to change it to the center of her head where the nose meets the middle of her head at. So that's why it looks like that. So I was fixing the parts as I go because I like for them to be super even because I am a perfectionist. So that's why it's like that, but it will be fixed at the end. Don't worry. Don't ever be scared of my parts because they going to be straight at the end. I promise.
Y'all, if your parts are not layered, you are doing this wrong. I won't say I hate. Please do not make your parts straight down. Do not put your braids directly in lines. Make sure your braids are laying like bricks. That's just how it's supposed to look. It makes the braids look fuller. It makes it look more spread out. Everything that is the trick. That's the key to do it. Don't have large spaces where people can just see straight down the part of the head and stuff like that. A few times I had to stop y'all because I kept forgetting to separate my curly pieces, so that's why I let go of her braid. But other than that, y'all see how these parts land. Y'all see how these braids land. They already nice and her hair not even finished. After I finish the front, I do like to go to the very back row. Again, this is what works for me. I work the same way I part the hair is the way that I work when I braid. Or I thought I braid. She said I never did that before, but I'm almost positive I did this before. But either way it go, that's usually how I start the braids. Most likely, I'm cleaning up the parts a little. I start in the middle of the part. I'm gonna turn the camera in a little bit so y'all can see exactly what I'm doing. But I start from the middle and work my way to the corner. So it's 5 braids on the very back row, and I usually part the 2 rows. I part 2 rows when I get to the back. It's easier for me. I don't know why I do it in this way, but this is how I do it. So I'm parting that second row, making sure that second part is straight too, and making sure my parts are put in is just quicker once again. Also, y'all, I do use Shine and Gem. I use 2 products. Actually, sometimes I use 3, depending on the hair texture for her. I use 2. I use Shine and Gem, and I believe it's called RTL. Don't quote me on that. I have to go look at it. I'm not in the presence of it right now, but I do believe it's called RTL. And so I do like to use these 2 brand, and I put the product on both. Like I put the harder gel at the bottom because that's just easier for me to mold the hair up. You always want to mold it straight to the middle. You do not want your braids to be slicked down unless that's the style they're going for. But it'll be easier when they pull it up and stuff. If you comb both sides up. So you comb it down first, and then I like to comb it up. And then I like to start from the middle. Once again, I always start my first braid or my first part in the middle because that's just easier for me. And it's always gonna make sure your braids are laying the right way, and you're gonna have the best brick parts if you started off this way. So again, make sure it's all the way combed through on both sides. So comb down, then comb up. That's the best way to explain it. I comb it down, then I lift up the hair and comb up with the product. And then I also fix it again as I continue to braid. But I try to get that done already so I can just start braiding. It won't have to be no hassle. So I make my parts completely for 2 rows, and I do 2 rows at a time. And that's how I just braid it. Also, y'all, I am working on the braiding hair product, so stay in tune for that. I will be out with my own braiding gel, something that works for all textures because Shine and Gem does not work for everybody. And I know it does not. Sometimes I mix Shine and Gem. I'll get a different container and I'll mix Shine and Gem with Gorilla Snot, or I'll mix it with the RDO and I'll just mix it and make my own little concoction. But I am on my way to have something. I am not stingy with the sauce, y'all. I will let y'all know what I use. I know a lot of people be like, I don't want to let you know what I use. But instead of charging for classes, I figured it would be a lot easier for me just to show you how I do it. And this is easier for me. And I want everybody to make some money. So go ahead and learn how to do some knotless braids. I forgot what she was showing me, y'all, but I was cracking up over there. That's why I kept on putting my head down. And don't mind my edges, y'all. I usually be trying to get up and make sure everything is done, but yeah, it was a morning, okay? It was a morning. I had only got about 3 hours of sleep, and then I woke up and couldn't sleep no more, and so I just stayed up. It's a long story, y'all. But anyways, let's get back to this video. Oh, y'all, she was showing me pictures of her really cute nephew. He was so adorable and he was so funny. So that's what we was over there laughing about. Sometimes the piece of hair can be too big or too small, even if that was the size that you was using. If you do need an extra piece, you can split the hair like I did. I just showed y'all that before I added the hair, I split it in half and then added it and continued braiding. So that is an option. Don't just put a big piece in hair. Make sure that all your braids are the same size and that they are all uniform with each other. After I add gel to the base of my braid and I comb it in every direction possible so no hair is sticking to the scalp, I like to split the hair into three strands. Sometimes I use the comb, sometimes I don't use the comb. Whichever works for you, it works for you. But after I split it in half, I am an underhanded person, so I always take my index finger and my thumb. That's where you're doing the most work. After I braid two strands, I bring the end pieces, so I bring the right piece to the middle and the middle piece is always up. The middle piece is always going to be pointed up. After I do that two times, I add hair in. And add hair in twice. So I do two whiffs of hair. As you can see that I'm doing that right now, I'll try to explain it better and show you better as I continue on braiding. But like I said, it is hard for me to explain a little bit, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing and this makes a little more sense to you. I will try to be more detailed. And I did slow this video down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And around the edges, I do the same technique as I do with the ends. With the edges, I'm sorry, because I don't want it to be too heavy and I want the braid to be secure. For 4 to 6 pieces make your braid very stable. Make your braid stable enough. And as long as you got 4 to 6 pieces, that'll be just fine. And make sure that the hair is always the same length all around. So after I keep adding, I keep braiding, keep braiding, keep braiding. And I make sure the part is very secure. Keep your hands close to the scalp, as close to the scalp as possible when you're starting that braid, because you don't want to lose knotless braid or the braid will slip. Then after that, I just continue on my braid and braid all the way down to the end. I do braid to the very end unless I'm putting curls at the bottom, which I am, or I might start. So I stop maybe about 2 inches away from the bottom, just so the curl can be very pretty and full and fluffy. But other than that, I will, like I said again, I will try to give you a more detailed version. We do have a longer way to go, as y'all can see. So I'm going to try to give y'all a more detailed version. This is my first voiceover and my first tutorial, per se. I guess it's easier for me to show people how to do it in person because I'm good at explaining, but at the same time, I'm really not, if that makes sense. So again, I'll try again for the next part to explain it in a better version. If that wasn't clear enough for you, I will show you plenty more times. I start my second row and I fix any parts that need to be fixed or corrected, and then I start braiding. I do like to braid from the corners. I don't know why I start parting from the middle and braid from the corners. I don't know, but sometimes I do braid from the middle. Like I said, it just depends on how I feel. I am a very back and forth type person. Like I said, it is important to keep your fingers close together and keep the grip on your hand very tight. Even if you're braiding fast, make sure you keep a strong, tight grip on the braid because you don't want your braid to be loose. You want it all to be uniform and you want tight wefts, tight, close wefts, because that just makes the braid look better and it makes it for a longer lasting hairstyle. So do not forget, keep your fingers close together. Your index finger and your thumb is doing the most work. That's literally your two fingers that's doing the most work. So as long as you got good grip with them two fingers, then your braid will turn out just fine.
Ladies, do not forget to clean them parts up. As you can see, I made another row. And I'm just going back in to clean my parts up. Clean parts is essential. Nobody likes braids. Your braids can be the nicest in the world. And your parts is messed up. And it just throw out the whole style. So take your time, get a good part and comb. Apply that product to the scalp. And just go over your parts. Don't be lazy. Take the extra step. Your clients will thank you later. And they'll always come back. Y'all see the sharp part. So as I said, y'all don't forget to go in your comb and comb from every. Don't forget to go into your part and comb from every direction when you're making parts. You can either do it all at once or you can do it as you make the parts. I do a mixture between both. But yes, y'all make sure y'all parts are laying like bricks. Do not put parts stacked right on top of each other because this style will not look right. Usually I start from the middle, but again I told y'all sometimes I go side to side as y'all can see. As long as your parts is laying like bricks, it'll always be done right. I'm telling you. So it looks like in this video I was doing it as I went, combing the parts from every direction so the hair is not sticking to the scalp, because that does give your braid a different effect when you do it that way. So don't forget and keep that in mind. Also, sometimes it looks like your part may not be straight, but I promise it is. Don't overthink it, because sometimes you overthink it and then you mess up the part. Another way I like to test is I like to, as you see, I'm twisting my square. And if all the squares line up, that means your parts is straight. You have a straight line going across the whole thing. So when you lift it up, everything will be aligned and perfectly in order. Get into these parts because y'all know it's only clean parts only over here. I zoomed in so y'all can see this is no flitter, no filter, no flitter, no none of that, y'all. This is straight comb action.
Like I said, I do 2 rows at a time. It's just easier and faster for me so I don't have to stop and part. So again, get that part straight as possible. Don't be lazy. Take your time with the parts. Make sure your parts are laying like bricks. Do not make parts stacked on top of each other. I cannot stress this enough, y'all. Your client will thank you later and they will come back because their parts are straight. Back again with the zoom in because I had to show y'all how straight my part was laying. There's no crooked parts over here, y'all. Everything will be fixed. Watch.
So we going back in what we did. Don't forget to comb your parts every which way, combing up, down, side to side. So no hair sticking to the part. You don't want no hair sticking to the scalp because that is gonna show when you do the braid. So you want to make sure that you comb it thoroughly. Split it into 3 sections using the index finger and the thumb. And then after you do, I start right, left, right. So I always start from the right with the brace. So I take the right piece to the middle I take the right piece to the middle, but I put it over the piece that's already in the middle and then do the same thing with the left. And then I add hair. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I say. So you can see what I mean by this. I had to stop because I didn't have the hair separated for the but adding the curls is the same way that I add the regular braid in. I just only braid a little bit in so it can hang. Okay, so I did zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing better. Again, I combed it, split it into 3 parts, and as you can see, I'm taking the right strand over the middle strand, and then the left strand over the middle strand. And keep your fingers tight and keep the grip tight. If you keep the fingers close together, that'll keep your grip on there. I add the hair between the pinch of the index finger and the thumb. And I just tuck it under the middle piece of the real hair strand and add the hair and keep going that way.
Okay, y'all. So once again, what you want to do is comb the hair in every single direction, up, down, side to side. You want to make sure that no hair is sticking to the scalp. This will make your braids look better, and it will cause less tension when they pull their hair up. If the hair is sticking to the scalp, they will have pains and snags on their hair. So make sure it's completely combed. Okay, y'all, you do want to make sure that the parts are straight and even, so do any corrections if you have to. I am in the middle of her hair, so you want to make sure that each piece is the same. It's like a mirror. It's mirrored from on both sides. That's what you want it to look like. This is what most people will see because a lot of my clients, they do wear middle parts all the time. So make sure that your middle part is always even and always corrected on both sides. Do not rush that part. Do not skip over that step. Your parts do matter. Okay, this does move pretty fast, so I slowed it down as much as I can. So, like I said, I comb the hair in every direction. No hair is sticking to the scalp. And as you can see, I section that one part into three sections. I work from my way from left to right because I am right-handed. So I take the furthest left piece and tuck it under the middle piece, and then I take the right piece and tuck it under the left piece. And I go like that, and I keep a pinch in between my index finger and my thumb. As long as that is secure and it's tight, then you have the perfect knotless. I do always feed in the hair with my right hand because, like I said, I'm right-handed. So I have my rack set up on the right side of me. And underneath the pinch of my thumb and my index finger, I always add it to the piece that's under the middle piece. You always go under the middle piece. I am an under braider. Over braiders, you would do the complete opposite. But I am, like I said, I am an under braider. So that's how I keep do it with for myself. As I braid, I continue to braid until I feel like more hair is needed or needed to be added. Also, it depends on the length of the braid, how many pieces I add. I think I added about 5 pieces for each braid, 4 or 5, not more than 4 or 5 for sure. I was adding curly pieces, as you can see. And yeah, that's how I do it throughout the whole braid. I will show you again, hopefully a little more in detail. But as far as this goes, this is how I do a knotless braid. If using a comb helps, by all means, use a comb to part your part into three sections. So after you get everything combed out in a nice manner to where nothing is sticking to the scalp, you can take your comb and you can split it into three pieces, three sections. So again, I'm going over the part. I'm making sure it's all the way combed out. I think this is a better way because I did slow this down a lot more than I slow any other parts down. So I'm combing it out to make sure that nothing is sticking to the scalp. And once I do that, you will see me take the comb and split this one part into three sections. So that's what I'm doing now. And again, like I said, I'm right-handed, so I'm speaking from a right-handed perspective. I don't know if there's different for other right-handed people. I guess if you was doing an under braid, it would be different. I do know how to do an under braid, but for me, it's quicker to over braid. No, I'm sorry. I am a under braider, not an over braider, so it's quicker for me. So again, like I said, I take the furthest left piece, tuck it under the right. I keep that pinch between my index finger and my thumb, and then I repeat the same with my right hand. So you see the right piece is pinched underneath the middle part with my thumb and my index finger holding both that right side and that left side. And so in between that pinch is where I add the feed in. So I take the piece of hair, add it in between that pinch, and I keep braiding. I pinch it securely between the thumb and the index finger of my left hand, and I continue braiding on my right hand. So taking the right piece under the middle piece and the left piece under the middle piece. I continue this throughout the whole process. I add about 2 pieces of hair to make sure it's equal on both sides, and then I continue braiding after that. So I added 3 pieces at the top. I braid, 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 and then I add when I get further down. Like I said, I added 4 to 5 pieces for each braid. So y'all, we finally made it to our last two braids of the head. So again, you put your gel on there. I'm splitting it in between to make sure that the part is centered directly in the middle. This is the crown of the head, and you want these two pieces to go towards the back. You want these last two braids to go towards the back. It just gives the style the finished look that it needs. And if you, I feel like if you put it parted to the side, so if you split it down the middle and braid to the side, it just makes the part look way too long. So you should see a little oval shape. This will be really one of the only parts that won't really be a square on the bottom at least. So after you get everything combed out, make sure nothing is sticking to the scalp. Well, sometimes I do this for the last piece, but other than that, you can just continue on like I taught you before. Split it down the middle and then get your part section. So you see that clean part. Clean parts are essential for this. You want to make sure that everything is aligned perfectly. You want this to be part of the middle one, but you want this to go towards the back. You do want it to go towards the back, even though you following the middle part. So after you get everything combed out, left, right, side to side in every direction, make sure nothing is sticking to the scalp. Then you can start on with the method that I taught you. Get a good grip, smooth that out, split your hair into three sections. I take the left piece, tuck it under the middle piece, take the right piece, tuck it under the middle piece, and I keep that pinch between the left and the right piece. I add the hair in between the pinch of the index finger and the thumb, keeping a tight grip so my braid can be uniform and my braid can look, the whips of my braid can't be tight and close together, to make sure that you can see the whole entire braid and that you don't have a loose braid that comes out eventually. You want to keep a tight grip between those two. And you continue on braiding. Like I said, I add three pieces at the top just to make it secure, just to make the foundation of the braid strong so the braid doesn't slip or snag the client's hair. And as you can see, I keep my hands close to the head. I don't like to pull my hands far away from the head because the further, the looser. So I only do that when I'm braiding down the ends. I do change my hand position at the end where I start braiding, tucking under. I guess I would say I'll start braiding, tucking under. Just in a tighter way, I just switched my hand motion up. It just helps me go faster for me. But you can continue in the way that I showed you. That does work as well. I will teach you this technique later on in this series, but right now I want you to focus on that's the best way for beginners in my opinion. So I would like for you to focus on that. Okay, y'all. So now I am towards the end of this video. So now what I'm doing is gathering all the curls so I can put the perm rods at the end so I can curl her ends and make it uniform. Like I said, these are medium goddess knotless. And so after I get all that, after I get every single piece that I need, I will put the rollers on at the end. I use perm rods. They are white. I got them from the beauty spot. They're about $2 a pack. And that's what I use when I do my goddess knotless. I don't really prefer putting the curls at the end unless the hair is human, because it do get tangly and knotted and stuff like that. And a lot of people, they don't like that, and they don't like a big old mess at the end. So I feel like this is easiest for me. Whatever works for you and your clients, that works for you and your clients, or maybe you're doing this on yourself. But it is, if you want to last and longer wear out of them, I do suggest that you get a perm rod. Okay, y'all, I do use two towels. I put one on the floor and I put one on the client's shoulders. And then I do the edges, and I use my fingers to mold down the edges and keep them in place. I use two different things for edges. I use Gorilla Snot and I use the RTL braiding gel. And so that's what I did to do her edges. And now I'm just getting ready to dip her. I did dip the synthetic curls in the water this time after I applied Gorilla Snot to the curls to maintain the curl and make sure that the curl doesn't fall after I put it in the water. That is a trick. It's easier for me and that works for me. So I usually split the hair into two sections before I dip it. I split it in half and I dip one half at a time. Okay, I do have this kettle. I bought it from Amazon. I believe it was like $15. I had this kettle for about 2 years now, so I could be wrong. I will try to put the link in the description of where I got this kettle from. So I dip it in there for about 30 to 60 seconds, and I let the curl rod sit so it can curl the pieces of the hair. I do the same thing with the other side, and I try to go up to a decent amount so the braids are not stiff. So I try to go up, like I grab the hair as if I'm putting it in a ponytail, and I try to go up and make sure that it's dipped towards that. And I let it sit in the towel because the steam does help a lot. Even though the steam tears the clients up sometimes, it does help with the ends being sealed and stuff like that. And it also helps with scalp. It helps ease the scalp, so the tension and stuff isn't pulling your scalp too much. So it's like a little steam treatment. So I do like this part a lot. It benefits in a lot of ways. So after I do that, I let the perm rods sit for a second, and before I take them out, and I take them out and look at the final result. So at this point, I'm making sure that everything is fine. I took the curl rods out. I'm looking to see any snaggly ends, any ends that's longer than the other. Checking to see if I have to cut or take anything off. It looks like we're good so far. So I go ahead and add my mousse to the bottom of the braids where I took the water out, just to freshen up the curls again and just to seal the braids. Mousse does a lot. It helps the benefits. I do use Braider Mousse by Shining Gem. That is the only mousse I use when I do my braids. That's my favorite, and that works for me. Again, if you find something else that works better, then use what works better for you. But for me, I do prefer that gel, that mousse. After I put the mousse on the scalp, I do like to use the blow dryer to make sure that your scalp is dry so you don't go outside with wet hair, or just so your braids can dry properly and all your parts can stay. Water does tend to change the texture of some people's hair, so I do like to make sure that it's dry after I add a little bit of hairspray and all of that good stuff. And so now I'm just gonna show you how the braids look and why parts matter, because they do matter, y'all. Y'all see how straight these parts are. Y'all see how everything is aligned, how everything is uniform. They laying like bricks. That's a perfect part right there. I can pull it up into a ponytail with no tension. My client doesn't feel any pain. Everything is nice. Everything is running smoothly, and the braids are giving what they're supposed to give. So I hope this video was very helpful to you. I will be posting more videos in the future of different styles that I do. But for now, just enjoy all these different angles and views of these braids that I'm giving you. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. This video is coming to an end. I know you see these parts. These are some medium goddess knotless braids. I hope that it was very full of info for you and that it helped you a little bit. I will be posting more videos like this in the future, so don't forget to give me a like, a subscribe, and a comment. If you need anything else, just let me know and I will try to make a video on that. Stay tuned for more content, y'all, and thank you all for watching my video. I hope you all have a blessed day.